Good Sorry, one sec. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to the 223rd episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today's show, we've got three great guests. I consider these programs to be heavyweights. It's going to be Creekview head coach Trevor Williams, North Oconee head coach Tyler Aurandt, and Alpharetta head coach Jason Kervin. So we'll go ahead and just get started with Coach Williams. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
It's going well, Craig. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Yeah, I'm dealing with a little cold or something, so bear with me. We'll power through this. Let's just talk about last season, though. I thought we've had Stars Mill on, Gilmer. You guys definitely were one of the more competitive teams that just found themselves on the outside looking in terms of the playoffs, but still you had a ton of young guys get out there. You battled in a tough region, so what were the takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our region and is tough. You got teams Altoona, Rome, in-county teams that do a great job, and then our non-region schedule was difficult as well. It was kind of a growing pains year. We dealt with some injuries like everybody else, and at the end of the day, couldn't make some plays in some big situations. But, I thought we got a lot of young guys, some experience. We got a ton of sophomores, some playing time, a ton of juniors. Hopefully, rolling into 2023, that'll pay off with some guys with some more experience under their belt.
Absolutely. You got some talent on the offensive line. Andrew Rosinski, he was an all-state selection. And then your quarterback, Austin Guess, stepped in as a sophomore, made big plays with his legs, big plays through the air. So let's talk about what you saw from your sophomore quarterback.
Yeah, talking with Austin and getting to coach him every day, he's wise beyond his years. His maturity level, how he goes about his business can almost fool you and make you forget the fact that he was just a sophomore last year. The leadership that he showed was incredible. But, he definitely had some sophomore moments and some big moments as well. So we're looking forward to him rolling over as a junior and bringing 10 games worth of experience under his belt back and leading an offense that's got a lot of firepower and a lot of experience up front on the offensive line as well.
And then going into the season, did you get the sense that you're going to have to rely on a lot of these 2025 guys?
Going into last season you're talking about?
Yep, the sophomores.
Yeah, so we knew we had some really talented young guys. We were faced with some injuries midway through the year, game 4 and 5, that thrust some guys into some bigger roles than maybe we anticipated. We knew they'd play on Friday. I'm not sure we knew they'd play as much as they did outside of Austin, but those guys stepped up, made some huge plays in big moments, and you can tell, I think anytime guys get in the game on Friday night when it matters as a young guy, it changes how they work in the offseason, how they go about the weight room, because they know what to expect and they've been under those lights before.
Yeah, it looks like Jackson Stanley was able to get in the mix. You guys had a lot of different guys catching the ball. So what's that receiving core looking like this year, just with Austin back at quarterback and just having that familiarity with his guys?
Yeah, really excited about that group. Bo Page, our wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, does a great job with them. Outside of Cam Lusk graduating on the outside, we get all those skill guys back on the 2 deep, at all 3 positions. And got some really young guys. Got a young kid, Nathan Ajiman, we expect big things of on the outside. Jackson Stanley, Cal Schubert, Lee Brock, Michael Roach, Nick Vaccaro, all those guys vying for time in there. So we feel like that's one spot we've got some depth, and looking forward to seeing those guys get out there in the spring after putting a great offseason together.
And then obviously you guys have a ton of 2-sport, 3-sport guys. Is Austin, he's on the golf team, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How's that been going for him?
Really well. We're fortunate. We've got, and it starts with our administration, our principal and athletic director really encourage multiple sports. And then the head coaches of all those sports really do a nice job of working together. When you look at the top players for us on Friday nights, almost all of them are multi-sport guys. Jackson Stanley's had a phenomenal baseball season. Cal Schubert's a leader on the lacrosse team. We've got basketball guys, wrestlers, golf, track, and lacrosse, baseball, all in the spring. So really do a nice job with those guys. And, it takes a high level of commitment to play varsity sports in multiple things. And those guys come in, they get after it in the weight room, and then after school they go to their respective sports and get after it there as well.
Certainly. And when I think of Creekview, I just always imagine just a really tough football team. You guys are gritty on the offensive line. Obviously, you got Andrew coming back, but who else on that offensive line group is coming back, and just how excited are you for that group?
Yeah, Andrew's had a really good offseason, committed to North Carolina, gets a lot of press and a lot of headlines, but people don't see the hard work that he puts in behind the scenes. Very, very driven. Another 3-year starter coming in is Pearson Sears at center. Phenomenal athlete. I think he's going to make some college program really, really happy. At center coming up real soon. His recruiting starting to take off. Cam Mears is another one that has played games since he was a sophomore. Fernando Zarita. And then we've got some guys stepping into senior positions. Dylan Bowling's a kid. Braden Grantham, both those guys at interior offensive linemen that have a chance. And then some defensive linemen going to give us some depth on the O-line. Beckett Singleton, Griffin Jane, and Trey Thomas will at least give us depth on that side. So really excited about that group and look forward to some leadership up front.
Yeah, what does Pearson bring to the table just in that center role? Because he does look like he's been packing on some size.
Yeah, a tremendous amount of athleticism. He's one of our more athletic guys that we have, and the fact that he weighs 255 pounds and moves like he does is phenomenal. He brings a high level of football IQ, understands the game, understands leverage, and a toughness and a physicality at that center spot that you don't see every day.
And then Isaac Hubert, he was outstanding for you last year. He's going to Air Force. You got some other guys involved in the running game. Obviously, Austin contributed a lot, but what's that position looking like?
Yeah, we've got 4 guys that we feel like at the running back spot that can give us carries. Mason Munn got some carries as a freshman last year. Grayson Davis actually dealt with an injury, going to come in as a senior and compete for that spot. Nigel Ajimang's as talented as anybody on the roster, coming back as a senior. And then Tristan McWilliams is another young guy, just going to be a junior, had a phenomenal junior varsity season for us. And we feel like those 4 guys are going to compete and kind of share the carries and share the load until one of them kind of owns the spot and steps up. That's a spot in spring practice that we're really looking forward to seeing the development of those 4 guys.
And then offensively, a lot of teams, they'll go with kind of like an H-back, a tight end, a fullback. Who's kind of that guy for you, that versatile piece that can put his hand in the ground and provide the extra blocker if you need to?
Yeah, so we're fortunate. We've got a lot of guys that fit that description. Jack Gibson is the 3-year starter coming back at that fullback H-back position. Michael Roach and Nick Vaccaro at tight end can both mix it up as an inline tight end or split out wide. Kevin Mead's another kid that got a lot of reps for us last year at that spot. So we're fortunate to have a couple guys that will share that load, but those are the unsung heroes, the guys that kind of do the dirty work in there along with the offensive line that make this thing go.
And then is that Isaac's little brother?
Yes, sir. The third Hubert brother, Lucas, does a great job for us on special teams. Looking forward to having him back. He dealt with a hip injury as a junior. Looking forward to getting him back out there and handling our kickoff and kicker duties.
Yeah, it looked like you guys were solid in that department. I think your long snapper ended up signing somewhere. Just how huge is that? Just you had so many close games last year, the overtime ones, just to make sure that special teams department's giving you guys the field position and just not allowing any negative plays.
Yeah, it's huge. Jacob Hefner was the long snapper, committed to Furman, signed there. We've got Gunnar Cantrell coming in as a junior, really done a nice job this offseason. long, athletic, long snapper that's going to handle those duties for us, and we're really looking forward to him taking those reins.
Yep, and I'm looking at your schedule right now. You guys open against Cambridge, Hillgrove, Calhoun, North Forsyth. That's an outstanding non-region lineup right there. But when I think of Cambridge, that was a team that was so good running the ball last year. Calhoun, they have Caden Williams. So defensively, what do you see just from you guys in terms of being able to stop the run and just shore up that department?
Yeah, for us up front, it starts with Beckett Singleton at the nose position and Reed Anderson at the Mike linebacker. Those two really set the tone for us, stopping the run. They did a nice job last year limiting those teams on the ground. But you're talking four perennial playoff teams that have done a great job and won playoff games a year ago, made deep runs in the playoffs. So it's not getting any easier, and it's a tough schedule. But our guys know going in that if we want to compete with Altoona, compete with Rome, compete with our county schools, then they've got to be battle tested, and those first four will definitely get us there.
Yeah, and what was the season like? Just you come out, you have the growing pains, the 0-3 start, but I mean, you guys obviously proved yourself against North Forsyth, a huge win. Altoona made so much noise last year. You guys put up 24 on that defense. You really had a great stretch, but then you dropped those two really close ones. What did you see from your team, just what they took away from that 2022 season?
Yeah, it kind of followed the script of what we thought it would early. We knew, obviously, the non-region schedule was incredibly tough. Really started to find our way in the Calhoun game. It was another close loss, but you could see the light bulb kind of come on for some of those young guys. Was fortunate enough to get a win against North Forsyth and then pulled one out late against Altoona. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of offensive weapons during those two games, and another one in the River Ridge game the week following, and unfortunately lost the River Ridge and Sequoia game, and that kind of told the story of the season for us. When you talk about those two games, really made the difference between possibly being a number 2 seed and hosting a playoff game to finding ourselves on the outside of the playoff picture.
And then defensively, what did you see from your guys just in terms of not allowing explosive plays just against these teams? Were they solid in that department? Are you guys trying to improve just being able to get to the quarterback better? Or what are some of those specifics that the defense is trying to take to the next level?
Yeah, Chip Martin, our defensive coordinator, did an unbelievable job. A lot of those guys were juniors and played as sophomores in 2021. So he's got a lot of senior leadership coming back on that side of the ball. Like I said, Reed Anderson, Beckett Singleton, Trey Thomas, Griffin Jane, Josh Tootin coming back at outside linebacker is a huge piece for us. We've got to do a better job of getting to the quarterback. That's always kind of been a calling card for our defense and the way we've played defense here. And last year we struggled in that department. We struggled to get pressure, and I think that was one of the things that kind of we're focused on this offseason is getting faster, more athletic on defense, and finding ways to be creative and get to the quarterback.
Yep, and it looks like you guys did have a lot of tackles for loss, but that was you guys didn't have a double-digit sack guy, so obviously Anderson's going to be at that middle linebacker role. He's going to be roaming the field. But who up front has kind of impressed you just with the work they've put in and what you've seen, just their motor off the line of scrimmage, just having what it takes to be able to make that difference this year?
Yeah, Josh Tootin's had a phenomenal offseason, played our star position, that outside linebacker, led our team in sacks a year ago, really dynamic off the edge, kind of a hybrid safety, is able to play out in coverage and then come in the box and make tackles for loss. Brant Freeman and Ryan Brooks are competing for that other inside linebacker spot. Both of those guys have had tremendous off seasons, run track and trying to get faster on that side of it. So for us, And in the secondary, Lee Brock comes back with a season under his belt at free safety. We've got some holes to fill in the secondary, but front seven-wise, we bring back a lot of experience, a lot of games played. But we got to make sure that translates into improvement and continuing to get better, not just relying on the fact that they played at the varsity level prior to this.
And let's go back to Austin real quick. Just what have you seen from him this offseason? Obviously, he's been playing golf. You guys pretty much haven't gotten to do the spring and all that, but in terms of areas of his improvement and what he's going to be able to do this year.
Yeah, he's worked really hard on his footwork this offseason and kind of being more consistent in that department. Obviously, the leadership piece, he's put on, I think, 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason, so his arm strength is light years ahead of what it was a year ago. But just that year of competing at the varsity level has been huge for him. And, through our meetings and off-season work, just his maturity level and leadership has stood out to me. And we're excited to get him on the turf and get going in the spring.
Yeah, and it looks like you guys do have some explosive playmakers coming back offensively. Sometimes it's hard to generate those big plays when you're going up against a schedule like this, but who has been just that difference maker, that guy that can kind of be that home run hitter on offense?
Yeah, for us, Cal Schubert in the slot last year was our big play guy. He led our team in explosive plays. He is dynamic with the ball in his hands. Another dual sport athlete, does a great job on the lacrosse field, and we're looking forward to having him back. But really, that's another kind of point of emphasis, is seeing how we can get the ball down the field and create some more explosive plays offensively.
And have you seen that with Austin's arm strength? You talked about his footwork. I mean, we saw the numbers he put up with his athleticism, but just what's that going to take? Is it timing? Is it obviously good offensive line play to buy him the time? But how's his arm strength been?
Man, it's like I said, he's taken huge strides in that area. But to me, even last year, it wasn't the arm strength that necessarily was the difference. It was consistency in the footwork. When his feet were right, he delivered some deep balls with some touch that a lot of people don't throw. So when his footwork's right, he's as good as anybody in the state of Georgia.
Absolutely. And then who are you guys going to scrimmage just before the season, and what else is going to be going on this offseason?
Yeah, we've got Kennesaw Mountain in the spring game on May the 18th. Another really good football team that has made playoff runs here recently, so we're looking forward to that challenge. But it's another chance for our guys to get on film and get under the lights. And the young guys we do have coming in and vying for a role, and some of those spots will get their chance and get a test early because, Caleb does an unbelievable job with those guys down there, and they've always got dynamic playmakers on both sides of the ball. So we're looking forward to that challenge, but it'll be a tall task.
Oh, yeah, that'll be a great one. I feel like they kind of have a bitter taste in their mouth, too. They lost some really close games last year. But, Coach Williams, we're out of time. Thank you so much. We'll have to catch up later on in this offseason. Best of luck, and can't wait to see what you guys do in 2023.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all you do for high school football in Georgia.
You bet. All right, go Grizzlies. All right, so there he goes. Yeah, so Austin Guest, I was looking at it, and I think this is going to be key this year. Some games he'd attempt 20 passes, 15, but against Alatoona last year, he ended up rushing for about 500 yards on the season. He racked up 200 yards. So they're going to have that ability to take advantage of his running ability, and then if they can get that passing attack going, I think they have a lot of pieces returning. And you just look at their schedule last year, an overtime loss to River Ridge, 7-3 loss to Sequoia, and obviously the big win over Alatoona. They very easily could have been playing Rome for the region title in that season finale. So we'll see if it stacks up like that this year. And obviously they're going to be trying to get back in the playoffs. But let's go ahead and take a quick break and thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So we're going to just jump into our next guest. It's going to be North Oconee head coach Tyler Aurandt. Hey, Coach, nice to see you. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, Craig?
Doing well. So, man, it has been another incredible school year for North Oconee. I'm getting ready to do the gymnastics guide. I see you guys are getting ready to go for your, I think, fourth straight. Both soccer teams won. The girls got a little revenge on Cedartown. Just what's the school year been like for North Oconee? Because, I mean, I see you guys as just one of the true heavyweights across the board athletically.
It's been great. Our community has really rallied behind our athletic programs, and we have a lot of support from the community. And you're starting to see that as we have been successful, not just this year, but over the last several years with baseball winning state championship, girls soccer's won a state championship, and now all of our spring sports are starting to complete their seasons and push for, they're running the playoffs where baseball's playing for region championship tomorrow. And then boys lacrosse it has had an unbelievable year, and so is girls lacrosse. So there's a lot of exciting things going on right now. But just from an overall standpoint, we've had a phenomenal year athletically, and that's a tribute to our coaches that we have in the building, but also a tribute to the kids and their families and the support that we get from our community.
Yeah, and you guys are in 4A now. I feel like that entire area, though, it's just such a destination. So many families starting or wanting to be in the area. I mean, is there room for growth? Just kind of what's going on in the enrollment department?
Yeah, so growth has actually slowed down a little bit, but there is new construction in the area, which I think is going to pick back up. But from a middle school standpoint, next year will be the first year that we will have 2 feeder middle schools into our high school. So they're taking the current middle school. We're going to split the enrollment, so we'll have 2 middle schools, and they'll both feed us. So that's going to be a little bit different, and it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a great opportunity for us athletically, because it's going to get more kids an opportunity to play. So you're going to have more kids that are going to show up on our campus that have played in ball games than what we've seen over the last 6 or 7 years since I've been here. So we're super excited about that because it just gets more kids involved. But there may be some growing pains, but in the end, it's what's going to be best for our community and us as a high school.
Yeah, and I was scouring social media. I was looking at some of the clips from just the strength and training program. It's not just the football players, it's every sport. I saw the girl athletes in there doing power queens, squats. Looks like just across the board, you guys are really getting after it, and I mean that's got to be a key to just how successful you guys have been.
Absolutely. You look at the programs that utilize the weight room, and they've had tremendous success over the last few years. But that's a tribute to our strength coach, Will Peters, who has created a program that's not just football specific. Every one of our athletes does the same weight program all year long. Now, we'll modify it when they're in season slightly, but he has done an unbelievable job of coming up with a plan that kind of involves everybody, and everybody's been able to improve from a skill development standpoint, in the weight room through this plan. And it's fun to watch because we coach them all. We don't have a football weight training class. We have classes that have athletes throughout the day. So when I'm in there with him, we'll have different athletes from a lot of different sports, girls, boys, in season, out of season, and they all kind of fit in the same plan And you know, people can say what they want to about you got to have a football weight training class, but we figured out a way to make it work. And I think that a lot of other sports have benefited from it because they're in there with a certified, strength coach that understands how to get them ready to compete and what they need as a high school athlete.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to talk to Coach Peters about that because you even think about it from a football perspective. You think that the defensive backs or kicker would be doing a different regimen than the O lineman, D lineman, but if you find that that system and routine that works for everyone, I think that does just elevate the entire thing. So, speaking of just that growth you guys have had just in terms of the strength, I thought nothing was more indicative than that, than how you guys stacked up last year against 4A. The year before, when you played Cedartown, they handed it to you. That was a 56-0 game. This year, you guys go toe-to-toe. You guys played so many physical football teams. Do you feel like you guys took that step last season where you guys established yourself as a really physical program that is going to go out there week in and week out?
Yeah, that's something that we hang our hat on, is that we're going to be a physical style football team. We believe in being able to run the football, and that starts with you got to be physical. But you go back and you look at where we were 3 years ago when we played them the first time, and the things that we've done to get our kids ready to play in the off season is slightly changed, not a lot, but I'll tell you the biggest thing is these kids believe, and they have a different confidence about them. They believe in what we're doing. They trust us as coaches, and then their ability, the God-given ability is giving them some confidence to go out there and feel like they can play with anybody. And I think we may have been missing that a couple of years ago, where, the kids just didn't feel like they matched up very well. And I think 2 years ago when we made it to the semifinals and played Benedictine, that kind of proved to everybody that, we've kind of put ourselves in that elite status of, we're going to try and be in the top 5 program every year. And our kids are starting to believe that we're capable of doing that. And I think that's one of the things that really pushes you, in big ball games or when you get to the end of the season. If your kids believe that they can make a run, special things are going to happen. And those kids have been unbelievable the last 2 years, and doing what they need to do to help get themselves ready to make those runs. And then we have a great staff that's really taken on a role to help our kids prepare so that they do feel like they have a chance to win.
Yes, and I thought 4A stood out to me last year. If you looked at all the classifications, it just seemed like it was an old school style of football. And I mean, you look at the state championship game, I think it exemplified it. It's raining. You have a 4-play goal line stand to win the whole thing. So I think there's a lot of just old school downhill running teams. What did you see, though, from your defense last season, just how solid they were throughout the year, and just how well they played together?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is what you just said, that they played really well together. They trusted one another. They believed in one another. They played with unbelievable effort, and on top of the physicality, that's the other piece that we talk about all the time. Is you're going to have to be physical, and you're going to have to play with great effort. And if you can do those two things, that's going to make up for some mistakes. But I will say those kids have played a lot of football together, and fortunate for us, we get to return a lot of them. We're going to be missing some key pieces, but it was fun to watch them down the stretch because they just look like they have a lot of fun while playing the game, and that's the biggest thing. If they feel like it's a job or it's something that they've got to show up to do, it's a chore, it's going to be tough to be special. But when you go out there and you enjoy it and you do it because you want to see your brother be successful, the guy next to you be successful, that's when it becomes a lot of fun. And not one of them took credit for any part of it. They wanted the whole unit to be special. And I think you were able to see that if you came and watched us play down the stretch in the playoffs.
Yes, and that was obviously a really special senior group you guys had. The way they kind of led that yearly improvement, and it was obviously tough how the season ended. You guys had a really close loss to Cedartown. That game could have been won by either one. I think the only way it gets closer to a state title is what happened to Cedartown in that final series. So what did you kind of say to the guys to try to provide perspective on, you guys achieved the best season in school history, you guys played outstanding, it was a season to remember, but also just kind of, I wouldn't say consoling them, but kind of letting them know, like, it's going to be okay, these things happen, this is football.
Well, you got to be able to respond.
Yep.
You know, you're going to get thrown stuff your whole life, and it may not go your way, but if you don't respond the right way, the next opportunity you have to overcome adversity is going to be even tougher. And, you know, we try and do things throughout the off season and through practice to put them in tough situations to try and help them understand how they need to respond. And nobody feels sorry for us for getting beat, you know, on the last drive of the game. You know, they showed right back up Monday after that game and went right back to work for this season. So, you know, you take that mindset, you're going to come in and you're going to work your tail off every day. You're going to have a chance to do special things. And they know that, you know, that they can't sit there and sulk over what happened last year, or this year is going to be even tougher on them as they think about the past. So I think our kids have done a good job of trying to move forward and understanding that, hey, we've got a good football program, but you got to show up every day and you got to do what's expected of you, and you got to meet the standard every day. And if you don't, you're going to have to learn how to overcome that and get better from it.
Yep, and I mean, that senior class, Khalil Barnes, Jack Fabris, those guys obviously raised the bar. That's the goal right there. Ball out in high school, you'll get your opportunity at the next level. But I know we were at the Georgia Elite Classic. We were looking at some of your class of 2026 guys. It seems like you guys have some special players coming up the pipeline too. We might not see them this year, but talk a little bit about that middle school program and then some of the freshmen you'll have this upcoming season.
Yeah, we have two freshmen that played a lot of snaps for us last year on the varsity level. One of them started outside backer. His name's Kamari Brooks. He's going to be a guy that's going to have a chance to play a lot of football after high school. He plays outside linebacker and tight end, but he's a big old kid. He's about 6'3", 220 right now, and I think he's going to grow a lot more. But he's a kid that just continued to show up and do what was expected of him, and ended up earning himself a starting position about halfway through the season, and played really well when he was out there. I think a lot of teams tried to run the football at him and put him in situations because he was a freshman, and he handled that stuff really, really well, a lot better than a lot of other kids in his position would have handled it. And then the other kid that played a lot of snaps for us is Harrison Faulkner, who plays quarterback. He is a special talent. One that you don't get to coach kids like him very often, but he's a special player that's going to be able to do some special things for us, I think, this year. So it's going to be fun to have him around for the next 3 years and watch him continue to develop. But, you know, there's a lot of other guys that are in that group that may not have got a chance to play a lot of snaps on Friday nights that are going to do big things for our program. And I think that's just one thing, and I mentioned it earlier, the families, the parents, I think they believe that we're going to do a really good job of trying to develop their kids. And you watch these kids over the next 2 to 3 years, this freshman class could have a chance to be pretty special for us. because they've got a good core group of kids, but they're very, very connected. They're very tight and close to one another, and that's usually a recipe for success down the road.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at Kamari Brooks. So he was like an outside linebacker, but at his size, are you thinking that he might play a different position later on, or how's he kind of filling out in terms of his frame?
He's gained weight since the season. He may have a chance to put his hand down and come off the edge, but he's pretty athletic. He's an unbelievable basketball player. He moves really well, and he's really, really long. And I think when you have him out in space, he creates some issues because he can run. But he has the ability to go down there. He's physical enough to go down there and play on the line of scrimmage too when needed. So I think we're certainly going to have some opportunities to do some different things with him.
Absolutely. And then last season, you guys had a 32-point average margin of victory. You guys had a lot of big wins. So you got to get those JV guys or second stringers some playing time. What did that do in terms of bonding the team, just when you have a lot of guys being able to get that Friday night experience, just coming to practice knowing that they've got to be dialed in, they're going to have an opportunity?
Yeah, no, I think it just builds a lot of morale. One of the best things about that was when our older guys were taken out of the game, they were the biggest cheerleaders of the guys that were in the game, the guys that give them the look on serve team every day of practice. And they're sitting there pulling for them just as hard as those guys pull for the older ones when they're in the game. And that was probably one of the funnest things to watch, is how much our older guys respected what that younger group did for them day in and day out. And when they had their chance, they were their biggest fans.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, some of those results, that had to been so exciting, seeing you guys put up 70, 83 on the board. I think we saw a similar thing at the 7A state championship. Once Mill Creek put their backups in and they were still scoring, it was, yeah, they were going absolutely nuts. But yeah, just what else are you looking forward to this upcoming season in terms of quarterback play, receivers, or just guys that you're excited to see get that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I'm excited to see this spring and see how the weight room and, the skill development things that we've done, how that stuff is going to pay off and how it's going to translate to when you put pads on. I love these 10 days because this is where you get to see all the growth and the hard work over the last 4 to 5 months start to pay off, and their bodies change. And so you take a kid that is a freshman and now he goes out there as a sophomore, and how much different they play the game because, there's so much growth and maturity that happens from year to year. But you talk about kids, we've got a handful that are returning that have played a lot of snaps, but a guy like Max Wilson, who's played quarterback the last couple of years for us, excited to get him back out there and see how he's grown and developed. And then you got Jack Kelly, who's played tight end, defensive ends, and he's getting a lot of interest right now from a recruiting standpoint. But just excited to see how he's developed as a tight end, because last year was kind of his first year playing that position. And we didn't do a whole lot with him in the passing game, and I think we're going to be able to use him more throwing the football. But then you got other guys, Brooks Thompson, Trey Linhart, and Damani Taylor from a skill perspective that are all returning that had good years last year, but they've all worked really, really hard in the offseason to try and put themselves on another level. And then our offensive line. We returned all 5 of them up front, and not one of them had played a lot of snaps. I mean, they come in when games were in control as sophomores, but I think out of the 5 that we started game 1 last year, I think one of them had 1 start under his belt. And so you got a group that's coming back that played 14 ball games together. And so we're super excited about what that looks like up front. But it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of other guys that I could sit here and talk about for hours, and I'm so proud of them and what they do day in and day out. But, you know, I'm just excited to get back out on the grass and see where we're at come May 1st.
And then last question, what do you think of Khalil Barnes getting that pick six in the Clemson spring game? That was pretty epic.
Yeah, I had a chance to go up there and watch him. And, you know, he made a couple plays early on that you just shake your head at, that you don't think a freshman is going to be out there to make that type of impact that early. And then he has that play at the end of the game, and I turned to one of the coaches that went up there with me, and I said, man, that looks familiar.
Yep.
It's like he's just in different colors, but he plays the game the exact same. And he's out there to make plays and do whatever he needs to do to help his team win. And it was just awesome to see. He was sitting right next to his dad. His dad couldn't be prouder. But that just goes to show you that kid made the right decision of where he needed to be. And he was very patient through the process. And so to see him out there and see him thriving, it does nothing but confirm that he's right where he needs to be.
Absolutely. He is representing, I know the coaches at Clemson were probably impressed with that big-time play right there, closing out the spring game in style. Well, Coach Aurandt, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck closing out this school year and this offseason.
Thanks so much, Craig. I appreciate what you do for high school sports in our state.
You bet. All right, go Titans. All right, so we'll take one quick break, and we'll be joined by Coach Kervin on the other side.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So let's just jump straight into it. We'll talk to Jason Kervin, Alpharetta's head football coach. They had a tremendous season, made it to the second round, ended up falling to Rome. They played Roswell for the region championship, had huge wins over that span as well. Really were playing just competitive every single game. They didn't really have a bad week, just lost a couple close games, and they have a ton of talent returning in their class of 2025. Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You got me?
Yes. All right. So when we talked last year, it's obviously a really exciting season. We talked early on. We talked later. You said that you felt like 2022 was going to be the year you guys, I don't know if it was turn the corner, but kind of hit that next step. And you credited the contributions we're getting from that class of 2024 and class of 2025 that was really bolstering you. So let's talk about what that 2022 season meant.
Well, I mean, my first 2 years here, we were 7A, and we had a brutal schedule. We played the best teams in 7A, including the out-of-state games. So, we're familiar with how good Georgia high school football is. And then, going to year 3, we dropped back down to 6A, which is, where we feel like we're a good fit. So we felt like we'd have an opportunity to, be more competitive and win more games. And we pushed hard going into the offseason. We made tremendous strides there. And our hashtag going into the year, kind of our motto was different. We wanted things to be different. We wanted different results. We didn't want to just keep coming close and, falling short. So, we try to take a different approach to what we do. We try to work different in the weight room and be more committed. And I think you saw some of those results on the field.
For sure. And we try to stay objective. We love high school football, but we couldn't help but cheer for Ben Guthrie last year. I mean, he battled. He was so competitive, so good. He came came in the Georgia Elite Classic. Just you could see the leadership. He was an absolute leader and baller. So just how proud are you of just seeing his hard work pay off and him getting that opportunity at the next level?
Oh man, I mean, I'm so proud of that kid. I love Ben Guthrie as much as any kid I've ever coached. I respect him on the field. I respect him off the field. And I think the biggest thing is if you know Ben Guthrie, you know he wants to win. He's a winner. He prides himself in winning. He doesn't make excuses. He didn't care about the schedule. He didn't care who was receiver and who was the offensive lineman. I mean, he just went out there and tried to do his job at a high level every day. He prepared us that way. Whether it's watching tape or, coming in at lunch on his lunch and watching tape with me or do whatever. But he tried to do everything within his power to help his team win. And I'm proud of the season he had. I'm proud of how he played in the Georgia Elite Classic. That's tough. It's a tricky deal sometimes going into an all-star game with just a couple days of practice and being able to successfully throw the football, because what makes Ben Guthrie special is his ability to read defenses, understand coverage, anticipate windows, and throw in tight windows. In an all-star game, sometimes you don't have that, unison, and you're kind of left to run around and create and make plays. So I was worried, how he'd do in the game, and I think he just showed why he's been Guthrie. He went out there, he balled. I think he threw 4 touchdowns. Yep. I think one of them was a 4th and 2. He threw like a 65-yard touchdown down the sideline. I mean, he's been Guthrie, man. He's one in a million. So I'm proud of him. I'm blessed to get to coach him.
Yeah, he was incredible. Even when he was under pressure, you could tell he still was just so in tune with what the defense was doing, where his guys were. I just thought he was an outstanding quarterback. So what's the position looking like now? Is that going to be Landon Walker stepping in?
So, yeah, Landon Walker's he was a sophomore last year. He was our backup. Landon actually started 2 games his freshman year when Guthrie got mono. So, he had to go on the road. Landon Walker had to start on the road at Cherokee, as a freshman, and he had to start at home at Roswell against Roswell as a freshman. So he's got a lot of games under his belt. He's familiar with the offense. He's just a leader. He's one of those kids that lives in the minutia. He listens to everything you say. He's a tremendous athlete. You're not going to find a better kid in the country as far as what you're looking for in a quarterback. And we also had a kid move in, DJ Bordeaux. Is a 2026 kid. He's a freshman this year, and he's highly ranked. He's got multiple Division I offers. He's got really good tape. He's really impressive. So, we're excited about the competition we have there. It's 2 great kids, and we'll get out there and sort it out and let them go. But we feel pretty good about that position.
Yeah, and I'd say before you got there, I mean, it's no secret. We've heard it from coaches. That North Fulton, that area, sometimes it's hard to keep guys within the program. There's just a lot of good schools up there. So it seems like that's something that you guys have definitely been able to lock down. You have these guys that are in the program. You have a ton of underclassmen, Ethan Barber, all these guys that have a great future. So just talk about that aspect of making Alpharetta kind of that prominent program, that winning program that kids want to be a part of.
Well, I think the first step, and this was conveyed to me when I came in, was we have to keep our own players. I think it was well known that Alpharetta's had good teams before I got here. They've had winning seasons, they've had success, they've had good players, they've got players in the league. But I think there was a history of good players leaving for whatever reason. So that was like step one. Keep our own players, and then we wanted to build a culture and an offensive and defensive style that attracted players. That people want to play in. So, we had some tough times here. I got hired a couple weeks before COVID hit, so that was a nightmare trying to go through that. And then that first year, and then, we had Fulton County made the rule in the spring that if you played a spring sport, you couldn't go to off-season workouts and football because they didn't want to cross-contaminate those groups, which, I think was a good decision because those baseball and lacrosse, those kids lost their season the year before during COVID. So, they were trying to protect those teams and help them get through that season. So we lost a lot of traction just in our off-season program, and that's the one thing that I pride myself on, that I know that, we can bring to the table that, is going to make a measurable difference. And we just got off to a slow start there. And I'll never forget, I sat there one day, we work out, our older kids work out first period, and then our freshmen work out second period. And when they left one day, I just sat there with my head down, and I thought, am I going to make it out of here alive? Like, can we win here? Can I turn the corner? Is COVID gonna, be kind of the final nail? I was really worried about the state of our program. And that afternoon was the first day that we had off-season workouts. I run off-season workouts for our middle school. And I'm going to tell you, when they showed up, when that 2025 class showed up that first day, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I knew that if I could hang on to that group and keep them together, that, we would have a chance. So, that group's special to me for that reason, because they turned one of my darkest days at this school when I was at my lowest. They gave us hope. And they worked hard. They're a good group. And we have other good groups with them. Our 24 class is special to me because they were my first one. The 26 class is special to me because, we really held that together. I'm really excited about the 27 class. Our numbers are going up. We've gone from 66 to 83 to 104. We'll have over 115 kids out this year, my fourth year. So we feel really good about the direction we're in. But the 25 class was definitely a cornerstone of that. That was a group that gave us a lot of confidence that we were going to be okay around here. So they're definitely special to me.
For sure. And Ethan Barber, he's one of those guys. And, man, did he have a great impact last year, 12 touchdowns. What's the ceiling for him just with 2 varsity seasons left?
Yeah, our goal for him is to get him in the 5-star range. I think he's going to be a solid 4-star. I don't think there's any questions about that. But, just trying to find a place where he's going to fit into that offense, where he's going to be utilized, because he is a tight end and he's a fullback and he's an H. He has a unique skill set and that he can do a lot of things. So, we want to make sure we get him somewhere where he fits in, where he can be utilized and he can have a successful career. And, there's no guarantees after that. I don't care how good you are. I think that, him and his dad have the right idea and the right mindset about what their goals are. Their goals are to, play college, graduate with a good degree, with a zero balance, and, get life started in a good foot. But he's going to have a chance to play in the league. And there's no doubt about that. And it's not just because of size. He has the makeup that you're looking for. He's a tough kid. He's going to work hard. He's got good feet. He's got good hands. He's skilled. He's physical. He's smart. He's good in space. He blocks well in space. So he just does a lot of things really well. And I think his game's going to translate. And I think if he keeps his head on right and he does the right thing, that he's going to have a chance to make a living playing this game one day.
Oh, yeah. He was a touchdown machine and can do all those other things you just said. Let's talk about just how you guys were able to find all that success last year. You were talking about how defensively you wanted to be able to stop the run. You guys made a ton of improvements in that department. And then offensively, you guys were so potent and you were able to sustain long drives if you needed to, pack that physical running punch, and then that turned good offense into better defense. So talk about what you saw from that last year and just how you guys are going to replicate it this year.
Well, coming from, Hoover, I was a running backs coach. I'm a running game guy. That's kind of what I'm known for. And when I first got here, we were more 21 personnel, more run, play action, kind of more methodical. We try to protect our defense. We were playing a 7A. So, we kind of kept everything close, kept our kids in a lot of games. We played a lot of close games, played a lot of really good games. But as I've been here, we've been able to kind of develop these younger guys, these playmakers, and if I've got them, I want to get them the ball, right? That's the key. So we've kind of transformed our offense to where we're a little bit more of a passing offense. We threw for 3,500 yards on 38 touchdowns, which is exciting. It's fun to watch. That's how you keep your kids. Kids want to come here and play in this offense because they know they're going to get opportunities to put up big numbers and make plays. But I think where we've got to get to and where the disconnect was last year is when it comes down to the run game, it doesn't matter how many yards you rush for or how many times you rush. It matters is, can you run the ball when you need to? That's what it boils down to. And I think that we had good running backs last year, and I think we had a pretty decent run game last year. But, when it came down to it, against Roswell and against Rome, the 2 games we kind of lost towards the end of the year, both those teams ran the ball better than we did. And I think you could argue that we maybe threw it better than they did. But at the end of the day, when you get to November and December, you've got to be able to run the football. You've got to be able to convert. scoring goal-to-go situations. And I don't think we were able to run it when we had to, and I think that was the difference. I think we were good enough to get to the semifinals, but we're in a unique situation where I think we're good enough to beat anybody in 6A, but we're not so good that we don't have to show up and play every game. So we got to try to get that balance in our run game a little bit more, and try to do a little bit more with our personnel groups and shifts and trades and motions and things like that. And maybe not put up the numbers we put up last year. I don't know. We'll see. We've got good skill guys again, so I'm sure we'll probably put up some pretty big numbers. But if we want to take the next step, we've got to be able to run the football in late November, and we've got to be able to stop it. So as proud as I was that we made progress in those areas, and I was, it's a little bit of a dichotomy. I was proud of what we did. I was proud of the success we had, but we got bigger dreams and bigger goals around here, and we're always looking for what we need to do to take the next step, and that's what it's going to have to be this season.
For sure. And then last year, I feel like those first three teams you faced, Creekside in the scrimmage, Jefferson and Cambridge, so that showed you, okay, we've got to tune things up defensively to stop the run. Are you going to scrimmage the same group, and then what do you think those matchups are going to say about your offense and what you guys are going to be able to establish?
Well, you really be taken back to the spring. We scheduled Marist in the spring, who nobody really wants to play a triple option team in the spring, but I knew beating Blessed Trinity was going to be a big deal for us. I knew stopping the run was going to be something that we needed to hang our hat on. So we scheduled Marist, and we scheduled Jefferson, and we scheduled Cambridge to get ready for later on in the season. And we stopped the ball. We stopped the ball well against Creekside. We didn't against Jefferson because, they've got a really good team, a really good run game in that. And Sammy Brown's a monster, man. He is. He is a whole problem. So, but we went to Cambridge and we gave up 5 rushing touchdowns against them for no reason. We had the numbers there. We had good calls. We were undisciplined in our run fits. We're not in the right gaps. We're all over the place. Even when we're going hard, we're out of control. So I saw tremendous growth in being able to stop the run. I thought we stopped the run well against Milton. I thought we really stopped the run well against Blessed Trinity. If you would have told me that we were going to hold Milton like we did, I would have thought we'd have won that game. But the other key, if you watch this play that that we've got to get fixed is special teams. I think special teams probably cost us 2 or 3 games last year, and that's not an exaggeration. And it didn't have anything to do with our scheme. It just has to do with, our players and having the depth and having guys that can go out there and stay healthy, and young guys that, may not get to start that want to go out there and cover that on kickoff. We got to cover. We got to do a better job of playing field position, and that got us. It got us against Rome. It got us against Roswell, and it got us against Milton. And if we don't clean that up on special teams, we're going to make improvements on defense. We got a lot of those guys back. We were extremely young there. So I feel good about, what we got coming back on defense, but we got to stay healthy, and we got to clean special teams up, man. We just can't get the team the field position that we gave them last year in the situations we did. You can't keep overcoming that. So we'll try to get that done if we can.
Awesome. Well, yeah, 6A is going to be incredible this year. I know it's exciting what you guys are building off of. Last year you had the success, but you guys still want to take it to the next level. You got a great schedule, a great region, and a ton of premier matchups that the whole state's going to be excited about. So great year ahead for the Raiders. Thank you so much for coming on, Coach.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you having us on.
You bet. All right. And we will see Alpharetta at the Corky Kell 7-on-7 Wednesday, June 14th. They will be in, and by the way, we're going to have this probably up on the site soon, but still are working out the final details with the pods. That's going to be June 13th, 14th, and 20th. But it looks at this point Alpharetta is going to be in there with North Paulding. They also will have a new quarterback, so that's interesting. Mill Creek, they'll have a new quarterback. Grayson, Lanier, and then Kell. That is a good group right there. So obviously, one of the things Alpharetta is going to want to work on this year, I think he said it right, is being able to run the ball successfully when you need it. When you're a high-powered passing attack like they were last year, racking up 340 yards a game, they didn't have to run the ball much, but it was those key moments in the game where they felt like it would have benefited them just to keep the drive going, run time off the clock. So if they can find a couple workhorses in the backfield, I think they will be just as dangerous offensively. And obviously with Ethan Barber at that tight end position, you heard it. He says he thinks he'll be in the league one day. Wouldn't be the first player from Alpharetta to make it to the NFL either. So that is exciting. 3 heavyweight programs right there. We'll have some spring sports updates on scoreatl.com. We got the soccer state playoffs into the second round. We've got lacrosse wrapping up this week, baseball wrapping up this week. Coach Aurandt was talking about the big game, North Oconee and Cherokee Bluff in baseball. That's huge. That's number 1 versus number 2 for the region title. Very well could be a potential state championship matchup too. We have the gymnastics state preliminaries on Wednesday and then the championships on Friday. It's all going to be held at Buford. The North Oconee girls are attempting to win, I think, their 4th straight state title. They've won it every year since they split up the classifications, except 2020 when it got canceled. And they're currently ranked number 1, so they've been unstoppable. But yeah, that's it for now. We'll be back tomorrow. Check it out. Keep underrated and overlooked with me and Najee. We will be covering tons of high school news, college news, and we'll talk some NBA playoffs as well. So we'll be back then. I'll see you then.